And there's this new trend of no AI labels. One that's very popular is not by AI. Pay $100 so that they can put a verified written by humans. Where is the line? Art is a common one. Everyone pretty much seems to be in agreement that if the AI generates an image, it's not considered art. AI art is ass cheeks. It feels like forcing people to have an issue. It's like when you walk by a building and you see a bunch of protesters out in front. You know, you mentioned such badges also invite people viewing them to think about an issue they otherwise may not have. You're creating a space where it's assumed if you don't have the badge, you're AI. Imagine how bad this could be, where you have a company charging, $100 to verify that you're not AI. As more and more companies use this, theoretically, you're going to end up in a position where if you don't have that badge, you're fucked. It's kind of like the Twitter verified, but then there's a gray area. What about SVG art? They may come where this isn't the case anymore. Right now, it looks like shit, but in 2030, is it going to look like shit? Maybe not. If you're okay with code, you should be okay with AI art. Code versus art. Code, handwritten, hand-typed, we'll say, takes thought, is personal. There's a million ways to skin a cat. There are some things that are very much straightforward, but for the most part, you as a coder could design something completely different as another person that achieves the same task. It could be a different algorithm, different data structure. It could just be how you wrote it, right? We're not even just talking about the O sub n level. We're talking about pure, straight text code. End point is that it requires a human to create it, and it's a creative effort. There's no doubt code has creative elements to it. They added kind of a AI disclosure where developers have to actually mention whether or not they use AI in their artwork. And their incentive here is that customers may change their mind if it's using AI. Valve pushed back on this wording quite a bit, that it's okay if it was a time-saving AI usage, which is like, I guess, tools that were used, coding tools, things like that. Your question might be, why does it matter? And this is a valid question where it's like, hey, what's wrong with making devs mention they use AI? Really puts you in a bucket that if you've ever tried to sell anything on any marketplace ever, if you're a really small game, like let's say you're an indie dev and you don't have an audience already, when you release your game onto Steam, if it's a new release, it'll typically go into like a new releases section. Depending on the genre, it'll go into there. This is what you're a slave to. You're a slave to Steam's system. Contrast, let's say you're a massive dev studio. These companies, they can get away with AI usage a little bit more. I think a lot of people would be upset, but they would still play it and they would try it and they would still try the game out, right? There'd still be enough breadth of trying the game that it could get noticed and get out there. When you're a small indie dev, dude, every bit counts. You have to think of the small indie dev as like a sapling where every single advantage that they can get is contributing to the water. That looks terrible. That does not look like a watering can. Hold on. Oh Lord, I'm getting this worse. Vision this as a watering can. Every opportunity increases this viral idea, right? There's games out there where it looks catchy. Instantly a hit because it's just weird. I think Goat Simulator, what was that? Five Nights at Freddy's. So that's a +1. Makes the sapling go like this. Now we have this. And then you might have timing. Let's say there was no games out. Luck of the draw when it comes to like streamers, YouTubers, whatever. Each of these contribute to your chances of success. And the hope is that you're going to have a nice, beautiful tree. You have to realize that everything that goes against this is just completely putting you in the dirt. Buying it. This is the harder gap. This is the hardest gap to get to. It's already hard enough to get them to see it. Getting them to pull the trigger on buying it, other battle. You can have the best pictures in the world, the most interesting game in the world, but this part right here is very fickle. Every advantage you can get, the right idea, having the right marketing, the timing, luck of the draw, all of this contributes, but it's a very fickle thing. It's something so small as just having an AI tag. Dude, you're completely nullifying your chances. It doesn't matter that maybe this percentage of the game has AI assets, even if it's something small, like a tiny particle. You can envision a world where a game uses AI assets for the small, non-important part, and then they invest all their actual art into the 90%. But guess what, compadre? It unfortunately doesn't matter. Society doesn't want your game. If you were able to convince them that, hey, yeah, we only used AI for these 10%, how are you going to convince them to do this? Take your word for it? No, they're not going to take your word for it. There's this article from GeoHot that came out pretty recently. It was in June 23rd. And he discusses the conspiracy angle of AI, where everyone thinks it's all evil. We should look down on these companies, yada, yada. But hey, we're in this already. We're already in the shits. We are in this already. There's no getting out of it. Can't undo AI. There There is no control Z of AI. And so we're already in this place where we have to deal with it. We're shouting at these companies and saying, hey, whoever uses AI is evil, yada, yada. But dude, at the end of the day, there's no going back. This is a new reality. To me, what should matter, is it good? Personally, this is my guiding star. I don't think we need disclosures to tell us if it's AI. I think a lot of the arguments for the anti-AI stuff and, omitting AI art from our media is what about the artists? And I resonate with this. The reality is it sucks. It does. The artists who spent hours and hours mastering their craft is having their works just completely taken and profited off of. As the GeoHot article mentions here, we are all riding on the same bus through the optimization landscape of reality, shouting at the driver to no avail. A wall-mounted map is covered in graffiti, so we don't know where the bus is going, right? We can kick and scream and we can complain about what AI is doing, but there's nothing we can do. It's too late. No matter what we do, this anti-AI stuff, it's not gonna matter. If somebody really wants to, they can use AI art without even telling you about it. Just like people are doing now with coding. There's a lot of repos out there, and I've seen it, where they're claiming they have no AI code. Then you go and you read it and it's like, oh, you know what? I'm seeing some opus in this. It's easy to do that with code, and it's going to get easier with AI when, the art is getting better and better. And so I do agree it sucks because there's no going back on it, right? It's too late. I'd also argue that humans were doing the same thing, right? Any artist you look at the end of the day, they were taking influence from somewhere into their art. The only real artist was the first human on earth. This isn't a quote, but it should be. Everyone takes influence off of things. I take influence off of things. There's certain YouTubers that I watch. There's certain, programs that I like. Everyone takes influence from other things. There's an article from Ryan Dahl. He's the creator of Node.js, and he's also working on Dino. He has a really good blog about kind of going into this idea that humans were really just repeating what other people were doing anyway. The article's main concepts are, talking about how we're underestimating AI, right? When AI makes a mistake, it's like we treat it like it's the biggest ridiculous thing ever. The big quote here, humans are basically a sophisticated Markov chain. They're very good at pattern matching, but have no understanding of anything or their own will. Talk about how basically we're autocomplete machines. We'll fabricate things, make things up, human-splain. And the key thing here that I wanted to mention is this line here. Humans can't truly invent or imagine beyond their training. They're like a DJ sampling old tracks, impressive in form, but no original melody, right? This is so damn true. And it hurts, right? It hurts to say that. Like, even when I read that, I'm like, man, we are such a useless piece of garbage, right? It makes me feel like I'm a scarecrow just pitched up. Right, I got no feelings, no emotions that are unique, and there's nothing wrong with that. And it is, right, where is the line? Where is the line for you when it comes to AI content? At what point do you consider it to be beyond the line to where you are not okay with it? Are you in the camp that's, hey, all AI is bad? Are you in the camp of all AI art is bad? Are you in the camp of who cares? Just want to enjoy it, right? I think I'm in this camp right here. I really don't care if it's using AI, if it gets me a certain emotion that I find to be valuable. You give me an entire movie that's AI, as long as it's good, I don't care. I just don't. But let me know what you think.